Welcome to FleetDesks ERP. In this tutorial, we will discuss how to manage rental sales in FleetDesks ERP. Through rental sales management, you can pretty much give any vehicle, SIM card, or other item to any of your customers for a monthly rental income. So how to do that is, first of all, you go to the customer section, and here you have an option says rent agreement. So you click on the rent agreement and let's create a new agreement. Click on the add button on the top right corner. So first of all, we need to give this agreement a title. Let's say I will write this as AGR1. So this is my agreement title. This needs to be a unique title again. You cannot use a duplicate title. You need to select your customer. Let's say in my case, my customer is this company, and then the start date for the agreement. So you want to, in this case, we will discuss how you can give maybe a vehicle to someone. So let's say this is a vehicle. So on which date I want to give this vehicle to someone. This can only be a past date or current date. You cannot select future dates. So in my case, let's say I will select 1st March, and then you need to have an end date already. So because all the agreements, you must define a specific end date. So let's say I will write this agreement as 3-year agreement starting from today, 2025 to 2028. And now how much is the monthly price? So I will say the monthly price is 600. You want to write any description, remarks, etc., whatever. You write it here, and remarks you want to attach any attachments. Let's say if you have a written agreement, you want to put it here, you can do that. One thing very important is if you are dealing with vehicles, you can create one agreement for one vehicle, or you can put 20 agreements in one vehicle. A vehicle is just an example. You can create one agreement and you can put 20 items inside, or you can create 20 different agreements for 20 different items. So our suggestion is always make independent agreements for independent items. Do not try to put multiple items in one agreement, because let's say you have provided two vehicles to one customer and you put both the vehicles in one agreement, and he chooses to return you one vehicle. You cannot close this agreement because you put two vehicles inside. But if you had two independent agreements, then you could have easily closed one of those. So it's very easy to manage if you treat every item individually. So we have created one agreement. This is says AGR1, and I will write the name again with it. So this is my reference and save. So once the agreement is created, now as per this agreement, you have to, in your inventory management, you have to assign some items to this customer. So go to the store section, inventory, stock assigning, and assign item. Here, select any item that you want to give. In my case, let's say I have chosen this bike. And now it says rent assigning active and inactive. By default, this is inactive. This is for every other purpose. But only for the rental purposes, if you are giving this vehicle to someone or any other item to someone on rental basis, you make it as rent assigning active, and now you select the rent agreement. So we just now created this agreement AGR1 Food Panda for this customer, right? So this agreement is showing here. Now this assigning type permanent and temporary, I will just come back to this after finishing this. So the quantity is one. Remarks, if you want to put any damaged fuel tank or any other remarks. So you select the date and you select a time, whatever. Okay, this is my date and time, and I can save. Now I have assigned one vehicle into this agreement. Before I told you, I want to explain you this assigning type. So let's say we have given this customer one vehicle, and some time goes by and this vehicle comes to your garage for maintenance purposes, or this vehicle has an accident or something else. Okay. And this customer demands from you a second vehicle as a replacement. So what we do? We go to the assign item again. We select another vehicle. Let's say in this case, this vehicle. Okay, and I again selected the rent assigning active. I select the same agreement, and this time I will mark it as a temporary. Here, if you click on permanent option, now this customer will get charged for the original vehicle and this secondary vehicle. So we will be charging them for both. But if I select this as temporary, then he will not get charged for the second vehicle. So this is a very important concept. If this is a free replacement, this is temporary. If this is a chargeable replacement, this is permanent. So for our example, I will choose this as a temporary. For this item, I have to select the batch and start date. Let's say this is again today, and end date is okay now, and save. Now I have assigned two vehicles to this agreement. Now, how do we invoice it? So at the end of month, you can have multiple agreement. For example, for this customer alone, you might have 200, 300, one, or whatever number of agreements. So once you want to create the invoice at the end of month, this process is very easy. You go to the rent invoices option, you click on the add rent agreement invoice, you select the invoice date. In my case, I will select today. I will select my revenue account. I will select my customer account. I will choose the same customer here and the date and month. For example, I will choose the month March. This is the running month March. So just for example, I will select February here for 1 second. When for February, I am fetching these records, I cannot get any record because in the month of February, for this customer, there was no vehicle, there was no rent, there was no signing, so nothing. But if I select the month of March, and now I fetch my list, now I get two records. The first record I'm getting AGR Food Panda 1, this is my agreement. This is the item name. The type is permanent. The start date was 3rd March and there is no end date because it's still a running agreement. And the rent amount is 600. And I am charging them for the month of March because this is being calculated for the whole month of March. The start date is 3. So the first date and the second date, they are not being calculated. And that's why I'm getting the total days as 21. And this is automatically calculating the rent until the end of month because there is no end date, right? Because this is an ongoing agreement. But here I have the second vehicle, which is AGR1, and this is temporary. And for temporary, there is no rent. This is what we discussed already. For temporary, there is no rent. So now, just quickly, for our reference purposes, I will include more data here. And now I will put some more data here to create an example. I will go to my customer section, rent agreements, and I will create another agreement for this same customer. So now I will make another agreement AGR2 food panda and my customer account. The start date is again, let's say, in this case, I will select the start date as February, just for to create an example. And the end date is 2020, 30, whatever. So the rent amount is 400 this time. The description is SIM card, whatever, and save. Now I have created two agreements for this customer. Go to stock assigning. In the second agreement, I will assign a SIM card. And I have this SIM card available, active, AGR2, and quantity is 1, issue date. I will select it as 11th of February, and time is this one, and save. Now for this customer, we have two running agreements. Go to rent invoices, add rent invoice agreement. Invoice date is today, month is February, and revenue account, services sales, customer here, and remarks fetch. So as we just saw in the month of February, he has only one SIM card because the other items they were assigned in the month of March. And also the assigning was on 11th date. So he's getting only charged for the remaining days of the month of February. But if I select here month of March, then I am getting these two items and this item which was assigned in the month of February. Now to just create one more example, I will return, okay, this item, the client says he does not need it anymore and he wants to return it. Go back to stock assigning this item, return it. Return date is 2nd March. Return time, this one, remarks, and save. So now this item is returned back. Now we will go to rent invoices, add rent invoice here, and fetch. Now you see that for the month of March, he's getting charged only for 3 days. 3 days for the service which was for the 3 days for which they used the service, starting from this date, ending on this date. Okay, only 3 days. This is the total amount they have to pay. Total was 400. This item was returned already. You can see the end date. Other two items, they are still running. You cannot see the end date because they are not returned yet. They are still with the client. And if I had selected the month of February, then I will see only one item and I'm charging them for 17 days because starting from 11th of February. So, and once you create the invoice, once you hit the save button, you have already created invoice for this customer. Let's say this invoice is already here. And now rent invoices, we just created this invoice. You go to the view option, you have the invoice date, invoice number, customer details, in agreement details, amounts, calculations, everything. And you have invoice which you can send to your customer. Okay. So this is about, in this way, you can manage the vehicles or the other items which you provide to other clients on a monthly rental basis. You can keep a track record of when you gave them this item, when you return again. Now, if you want to see a history of one client, let's say this is my client, and I want to see his history, how many vehicles he has used recently. To do that, you can simply go to the assigning return report. This report will give you information. You see this one, this customer had a SIM card. Let's say this SIM card, we gave him this SIM card on this one, sorry. This SIM card we gave him on 11 February. We got it back on 2nd of March. And these two items, they are still with him. So you are getting these records. You can track the assigning history from customer perspective and from the rental perspective also. So from the agreement perspective, if I simply go to the rent agreement, so as of now in Food Panda to this agreement, you can see the agreement details and the item information. So I hope this is clear. This is about rent invoices, how you give other clients services on a monthly rental basis, how you create monthly rental invoices, and I hope this is clear. If you have any further questions, you can contact our customer support team or you can drop a comment. Thank you so much. Thank you.